I didn't cry in the classroom. Not when the teacher slid the drawing across the table. Not when I saw my 6-year-old daughter standing alone in the rain, and definitely not when I realized she hadn't drawn our house. She drew my parents' house. And she didn't draw herself inside it. She drew herself outside, like she didn't belong. Like she already knew something I'd spent years pretending wasn't real. That was the moment everything cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a quiet, clean break straight through my chest. Because I knew exactly who was inside that house. And I knew exactly why she wasn't. My name is Thea Lawson. I'm 34. I live in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. One of those neighborhoods with identical mailboxes, HOA warnings about trash cans, and neighbors who pretend not to notice your life falling apart as long as your lawn is trimmed. Last Tuesday, I sat in a first-grade classroom that smelled like glue sticks and disinfectant wipes, staring at a crayon drawing that told the truth I'd been avoiding for 6 years. Sometimes, Mrs. Carter said gently, folding her hands like she'd done this 100 times before. When a child draws themselves outside the family unit, it can signal feelings of exclusion. Feelings of exclusion. That phrase echoed in my head like it belonged in a psychology textbook. Not in my daughter's life. I didn't respond right away, because I wasn't just looking at a drawing, I was looking at evidence. Proof. The house was unmistakable. Blue roof. Bay window. Even the stupid welcome mat my mom changes every season like it's a personality trait. 5 people stood inside, smiling, together. 2 older figures, my parents, 2 adults, my younger brother, Jake, and his wife, Melissa, and 1 little girl with bright yellow pigtails, my niece, Sophie. All of them inside, all of them smiling, and outside, a smaller figure, brown hair, no smile, no umbrella, my daughter, Lily, standing alone in blue crayon rain. My throat tightened, but I kept my face steady, because here's the thing about growing up in a family like mine. You learn early how to swallow your reactions. How to smile when something feels off. How to convince yourself you're just overthinking. You don't have to jump to conclusions, Mrs. Carter added softly. But I wanted to check in. Has Lily ever mentioned feeling left out? I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it was so obvious. No, I said finally, my voice calm. Too calm. She hasn't said anything. But that wasn't true. She had said something. She just didn't use those words. 3 weeks ago, I asked her if she wanted to go to Grandma's house. She didn't even look up from her coloring. Not really. No excitement. No questions. Just done. That was new. Lily used to love going there. Running up the driveway. Ringing the doorbell like it was Christmas morning. Now, she opted out. Like she'd already figured something out. Something I hadn't had the courage to admit. I thanked Mrs. Carter, folded the drawing carefully, and walked out of that classroom like I was holding something fragile. Because I was. Not just paper. Truth. The kind you can't unsee. The kind that ruins everything once you finally look at it straight. When I got home, the house was quiet. Marcus was still at work. Lily sat at the coffee table, humming softly while she colored something new. Bright pinks and yellows, completely absorbed, like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just drawn herself out of her own family. I sat at the kitchen table and laid the drawing flat. 5 people inside. 1 outside, and suddenly, all the little moments I'd ignored started lining up. Like dominoes. Sunday dinners I was never invited to. Facebook posts with captions like, family night. Tagging everyone except me. The time I showed up unannounced with a casserole, thinking maybe I'd been overthinking it. My mom opening the door with that tight smile. "Oh, I thought you'd be busy." Busy. Her favorite word for me. As if I'd been booked solid every Sunday for 3 years. We stayed that day. We ate. But it didn't feel like we belonged. It felt like we'd interrupted something, like we were guests. Unplanned. Unnecessary. I remember Lily sitting at the edge of the table in a folding chair someone dragged in from the garage, while Sophie sat next to my mom, laughing, getting her food cut into perfect little bites, being seen. And Lily, she stayed quiet. Too quiet. On the drive home, Marcus gripped the steering wheel harder than usual. "They don't forget to invite us," he said. "They choose not to." I told him he was overreacting. I always did, because the alternative. Admitting he was right? That meant admitting my own parents were doing this on purpose. And I wasn't ready for that, but now I was staring at a drawing my 6-year-old made. And she saw it too. That's the part that broke me. Not the exclusion itself, but the fact that Lily had already adapted to it. Accepted it. Internalized it. Like it was normal. Like she was the extra. Like she was the one who didn't belong. I pressed my fingers against the paper, right over the little figure in the rain. She noticed. I whispered to myself, and once that thought landed, there was no going back. Marcus came home around 5:45. He didn't say anything at first, just dropped his keys, loosened his tie, and walked into the kitchen. Then he saw the drawing. He didn't even pick it up. Just stood there, staring at it like he already knew what it meant. "This," he said quietly, "is what I've been trying to tell you. No anger. No, I told you so. Just truth." And somehow, that made it worse. I looked up at him. She drew herself outside. "I see that. She's 6, Marcus." "I know." Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Unavoidable. Then he leaned against the counter and said the one thing I couldn't argue with anymore. "It stops now." I looked back at the drawing. At the rain. At my daughter standing alone, while everyone else smiled inside. And for the first time in years, I didn't think about keeping the peace. I didn't think about being the easy daughter. I thought about Lily. And what she was learning. Because if I did nothing, if I folded this drawing and tucked it away like I had every other uncomfortable truth, then I wasn't just ignoring the problem. I was teaching her something. That being left out is normal. That love is conditional. That sometimes you just don't get a seat at the table. And you're supposed to accept it. I exhaled slowly. "No," I said, more to myself than to Marcus. "This doesn't stop quietly." He nodded. "Good." Across the room, Lily looked up at us. "Mom," I forced a smile. "Yeah, baby? Do you like my new drawing?" I walked over, kneeled beside her, and froze. It was another house. Different this time, smaller. 3 people inside, me, Marcus, her, all smiling. No grandparents, no uncle, no cousin. She didn't draw them at all, not even outside, just gone, like they didn't exist. Like she'd already erased them from her world. My chest tightened. Because this wasn't just sadness anymore. This was survival, and I realized something in that moment that scared me more than anything else. My daughter wasn't waiting to be included anymore. She was learning how to live without them. And if I didn't do something now, she always would. I didn't plan to confront my family that Sunday. But when I saw the second drawing, just the 3 of us, like everyone else had been erased, I realized something that hit harder than the first one ever could. Lily wasn't standing in the rain anymore. She had left the house completely. And somehow that was worse. Because now it wasn't just about exclusion, it was about detachment. She was 6 years old, and she'd already started editing her world to remove the people who made her feel unwanted. That's not resilience. That's damage. And I couldn't let that become her normal. So Sunday afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in over a year. I grabbed my keys. "Get your shoes on, Lil," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked up from the couch, confused. "Where are we going?" I hesitated for half a second. "Grandma's house." She didn't light up. Didn't smile. Didn't even ask if Sophie would be there. She just nodded slowly, like she already knew what that meant. "Okay." Marcus watched us from the kitchen, arms crossed. "You sure about this?" he asked quietly. "No," I admitted. "But I'm done waiting for an invitation that's never coming." He grabbed his jacket. "Then I'm coming too." The drive felt longer than usual. Lily sat in the back seat, staring out the window, her reflection faint against the glass. No music, no chatter, just silence. The kind that presses against your ears until you can't ignore it anymore. When we pulled into my parents' driveway, my stomach twisted. Jake's car was already there, of course it was. Because Sunday dinner wasn't cancelled. It was just happening without us. Again. I turned off the engine and sat there for a second. Marcus reached over, squeezed my hand. "Whatever happens," he said, "we don't back down this time." I nodded. Then I got out of the car, Lily slipped her hand into mine automatically, gripping tighter than usual. We walked up the driveway together. Same house, same blue roof, same stupid welcome mat. But it didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a place we had to prove we belonged in. I rang the doorbell. Not because I had to. Because I wanted them to hear it, wanted them to feel the interruption. The door opened, and there she was, my mom. Perfect hair, soft sweater. That same controlled smile she'd perfected over decades. It faltered for exactly 1 second when she saw us. "Thea," she said. "I thought you were working today." There it was. The script. Same line, different day. "I don't work Sundays, Mom," I said evenly. "I never have." A beat. Then she stepped aside. "Well, come in." Not, "We missed you." Not, "I'm glad you're here." Just accommodation. Like we were neighbors dropping by unannounced. We walked in. The smell of pot roast filled the air. The table was already set. 5 plates, 5 glasses, 5 neatly folded napkins. I stood there for a second, staring at it, at the math, at the intent. My mom moved quickly, grabbing 2 extra plates from the cabinet. "Oh, I'll just set a couple more," she said lightly. A couple more. Like we were an afterthought. Like we always were. We sat down. And just like that, the pattern repeated itself. Lily ended up at the corner of the table, not next to Grandma, not next to anyone important, just placed. Sophie sat in her usual spot beside my mom, center of attention. Center of everything. My mom immediately started cutting Sophie's food into tiny pieces, blowing on them like she'd done when we were kids. "Oh, careful, sweetheart, it's still hot." Lily picked up her fork and cut her own food. She didn't ask for help. Didn't expect it. And that broke something in me, because she'd already learned not to. Dinner went on like we weren't even there. Jake talked about work. Melissa laughed at something I didn't hear. My dad asked Marcus a quick question about some wiring issue, then turned right back to Jake before Marcus even finished answering. And my mom, she lit up every time she looked at Sophie. "Did you tell everyone about your piano lesson, honey?" Sophie beamed. "I learned a new song." "Oh, I can't wait to hear it. You're just so talented." Her voice softened in a way I hadn't heard directed at Lily. Not once. Then, like an afterthought, she glanced at my daughter. "And you, Lily? What have you been up to?" The tone shifted. Polite. Distant. Like small talk with someone else's kid. Lily shrugged slightly. "I like drawing." "That's nice," my mom said quickly. And just like that, back to Sophie. Gymnastics. Funny stories. Endless attention. I felt Marcus tense beside me. Under the table, his hand clenched into a fist. I placed my hand on his knee, a silent "not yet." But inside, I was boiling. Because it wasn't subtle anymore. It wasn't something you could explain away. It was happening right in front of us. Over and over again. Then it happened. Lily reached for her glass. Her elbow bumped it. Water spilled across the table. A small puddle spreading over the cloth. "Lily." My mom snapped immediately, her tone sharp. "Be careful. That's my good linen." Lily froze. "Sorry," she whispered. 5 minutes later, Sophie knocked over the gravy boat. It spilled everywhere. Brown sauce pooling under her plate. "Silly me!" Sophie giggled. My mom rushed over instantly. "Oh, sweetheart, it's okay." Accidents happen. Same situation. Different reaction. Marcus exhaled sharply. I felt it this time. That line. That invisible line Lily had drawn in crayon. I could see it now. Clear as day. And we were sitting on the wrong side of it. After dinner, I helped clear the table. Mostly so I wouldn't explode. At the sink, I stared at the refrigerator, and my chest tightened again. 14 photos. I counted them. 14. Every single one. Sophie. At the beach. At her birthday party. On my mom's lap. At Christmas. At the zoo. Not one of Lily. Not even a corner. Not even blurred in the background. It was like she didn't exist in this house. I dried my hands slowly. Then turned around. And for the first time that night, I stopped pretending. "Mom," I said. My voice cut through the room. Conversations stopped. Everyone looked at me. "I need to ask you something." She blinked, caught off guard. "What is it?" I walked over to the table, reached into my bag, and pulled out the drawing. The first one. The house. The 5 people inside. The little girl in the rain. I placed it flat on the table, right in the center. Silence fell. heavy, unavoidable. This, I said quietly, is what Lily drew at school. My mom barely glanced at it. It's a drawing, Thea. No, I said, my voice sharper now. It's not just a drawing. Jake leaned forward slightly. What is it supposed to mean? It means, I said, my hands shaking now but my voice steady, that my daughter feels like she doesn't belong in this family. Silence. My mom scoffed lightly. Oh please. She's a child. Kids draw all kinds of things. She drew your house, Mom. That landed. I saw it in her eyes. Just for a second. Recognition. Then, deflection. You're reading too much into this. Am I? I stepped closer. Then why is she outside? Why isn't she in the house with the rest of you? No answer, just tension. Thick and rising. Marcus spoke then, calm but firm. We've noticed the difference for years. My mom's expression hardened. Difference. Yeah, he said. The way Sophie is treated versus Lily. Jake shifted uncomfortably. Melissa looked down at her plate. My dad stayed silent. Of course he did. Are you seriously accusing us of favoritism? My mom snapped. I'm not accusing, I said. I'm showing you. I pointed to the drawing, to her, to the reality she's living. My mom's voice rose. This is ridiculous. We love both girls. Then why doesn't she have a single photo on your fridge? That shut her up. For half a second. Then, you're making a scene. No, I said, my voice breaking now. I've been avoiding a scene for 6 years. And then I said the thing I'd never had the courage to say before. Mom, when was the last time you called Lily? She opened her mouth, closed it, looked at my dad, at Jake, at anyone but me, and in that silence, everything was exposed. Every excuse, every lie, every carefully maintained illusion, and for the first time in my life I didn't back down. Because this wasn't about me anymore. This was about my daughter. Standing in the rain. Waiting for someone to notice. And I was done pretending it wasn't pouring. I don't remember. That's what my mom finally said. Not last week. Not her birthday. Not even a guess. Just, I don't remember. And I swear to God, that hurt worse than if she'd said nothing at all. Because forgetting Lily wasn't an accident. It was a pattern. The room went still. You could hear the clock ticking on the wall like it was counting down to something none of us were ready for. Jake shifted in his chair. Come on, Thea, he muttered. You're blowing this way out of proportion. I turned to him slowly. Am I? He rubbed the back of his neck, already uncomfortable. She's a kid. Kids draw weird stuff. Sophie drew a unicorn with wings and roller skates last week. I didn't even blink. Sophie didn't draw herself outside her own family. That shut him up. Melissa reached for his hand under the table. He let her. Of course he did. They were still safe inside the house. Marcus leaned forward slightly, his voice calm but cutting. This isn't about one drawing, it's about 6 years of behavior. My mom crossed her arms tightly. Oh please. You act like we've done something terrible. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. You have, I said quietly. And that's when she snapped. Her voice sharpened, rising just enough to slice through the room. Ever since you married Marcus, you've had a problem with this family. There it was. The real issue. Not Lily, not the drawing, me. I felt it hit. But this time, I didn't absorb it. I pushed it right back. No, I said steady. Ever since I married Marcus, you stopped seeing me as part of it. Her eyes flashed. That's not true. Then prove it. Silence. I gestured toward the fridge. Show me one picture of Lily. Nothing. Tell me the last time you invited us to dinner. Still nothing. Tell me the last time you called her just to say hi. Her jaw tightened. You always make things difficult, Thea. There it was. The label. The one she'd been using for years. The difficult daughter. The one who doesn't fit. The one who complicates everything. For a second, just 1 second, I felt that old instinct rise up. The urge to shrink. To apologize. To smooth it over. But then, I saw Lily. Sitting quietly at the edge of the room. Watching. Always watching. And I realized something that hit harder than anything else that night. She was learning from this moment. Learning whether it was okay to speak up. Or whether she should stay quiet and accept less. And that decided it for me. I'm not difficult, I said, my voice steady but louder now. I'm asking for basic respect. For my daughter. My mom shook her head like I was the one being unreasonable. You're turning this into something it's not. No. Marcus said firmly. We're finally calling it what it is. Jake stood up abruptly, pacing a few steps. This is insane, he said. You're acting like Mom doesn't love Lily. I turned to him. Do you think she treats them the same? He hesitated. Just for a second. But I caught it. That flicker of doubt. And he knew I saw it. That's not the point, he said quickly. It is the point, I shot back. It's the only point. Melissa finally spoke, her voice softer but defensive. We didn't ask for any of this. It's not our fault if Mom spends more time with us. I nodded slowly. I know. They both looked surprised. I don't blame you, I continued. You didn't build this. I glanced at my mom. But you live in it. That landed harder than anything else I'd said. Because it was true. They weren't the architects of this system. But they benefited from it. And they never questioned it. My dad finally spoke then. Quiet. Measured. The way he always did. That's enough. Everyone turned to him. He looked at the drawing on the table. Then at Lily. Then back at my mom. This isn't nothing, Diane. My mom stared at him like he'd just betrayed her. You too. I'm not taking sides, he said. I'm looking at what's in front of me. He reached out slowly. And placed his finger on the little figure in the rain. She put herself here for a reason. The room went silent again. But this time, it felt different. Like something had shifted, like the truth had finally been acknowledged out loud. Even if just a little. My mom stood up abruptly, grabbing plates from the table. I'm not doing this, she said, her voice tight. Not in my own house. She moved to the sink, clattering dishes louder than necessary. Armor, that's what it was. Control. Deflection. Anything to avoid sitting in the discomfort. I watched her for a moment. Then I made the decision that changed everything. If this doesn't change, I said, my voice calm but final, we won't be coming back. That got her attention. She froze. Slowly turned around. You wouldn't keep my granddaughter away from me. I held her gaze. I wouldn't bring my daughter somewhere she feels invisible. That hit hard, because for the first time, this wasn't just about calling it out. It was about consequences. Real ones. Jake looked between us tense. Let's just calm down. No, I said firmly. I've been calm for 6 years. Marcus stood beside me. Silent support. Solid. Unmoving. My mom's voice softened slightly. But not in a warm way. In a calculated way. You're overreacting. Maybe I was. Maybe any other day I would have believed that. But not today. Not after the drawing. Not after seeing Lily erase them completely from her second picture. No. I said again. I'm reacting exactly the way I should have years ago. Another silence. Heavy. Final. Then from the living room, a small voice. Mom. We all turned. Lily stood in the doorway. Holding another piece of paper. I drew something, she said quietly. My heart dropped. Because I already knew. This wasn't going to help. She walked over slowly. Placed the drawing on the table. Right next to the first one. Everyone leaned in. And this time, the room didn't just go quiet. It froze. Because this drawing was different. There was no big house. No smiling family. Just 2 separate pictures. On one side, a house with 5 people inside, smiling, warm, together. On the other side, a smaller house. 3 people. Me, Marcus, her. And between the 2 houses, a thick black line. Like a wall. Like a border. Like something permanent. Why did you draw that, baby? I asked gently, even though I already knew. She shrugged. Simple. Honest. Because they don't come to our house. No anger. No sadness. Just fact. And in that moment, every excuse died. Every denial collapsed. Every carefully built illusion shattered. Because you can argue with adults. You can twist words. You can deflect. But you can't argue with a child's truth. And Lily had just drawn it. Clearer than any of us ever could. My mom stared at the paper. Really stared this time. And for the first time all night, she didn't have a response. Didn't have a defense. Didn't have a way out. Because the truth was right there. In crayon. Unfiltered. Unavoidable. and something in her expression finally cracked. Just a little. But enough to know. We were no longer pretending, and once that happens, there's no going back to the way things were. Only forward. Into whatever comes next. And I had a feeling what came next was going to be even harder. I didn't think she noticed. That's what my mom whispered. Not to me. Not to anyone in particular. Just out loud, like the truth had slipped out before she could catch it. And that one sentence. It changed everything. Because it wasn't denial anymore. It wasn't defense. It was admission. She knew something was off. She just thought Lily was too young to see it. Too small to understand. Too easy to ignore. I felt something cold settle in my chest. You didn't think she noticed? I repeated slowly. My mom looked up at me, her composure already trying to rebuild itself. She's 6, Thea, she said, a little sharper now. Children don't analyze things the way you're suggesting. No, I said quietly. They just feel them. That landed. Jake exhaled heavily, running his hands through his hair. Okay, this is getting out of hand, he muttered. Can we just, reset? This is supposed to be family dinner, not some courtroom. Exactly? Marcus said. Jake blinked. What? At his family dinner? Marcus continued calmly. That's the problem. Silence again. Because we all knew what he meant. Family dinner, for everyone except us. My mom turned back to the sink, gripping the counter. I have done everything for this family, she said, her voice trembling now, but not weak. Defensive. Controlled. Everything. And now I'm being painted like some kind of villain over a drawing. I stepped closer. This isn't about a drawing. Then what is it about? She snapped, spinning around. It's about 6 years of my daughter feeling like she doesn't belong here. Her face tightened. That's not true. Then why did she draw it? No answer. Again. Always that silence when it mattered most. My dad spoke quietly from the table. Deanne, maybe we should listen. She looked at him like he'd betrayed her all over again. Oh, so now I'm the bad guy. No one said that. He replied, but you're all acting like it. Her voice cracked slightly. Not fully breaking. But close. And for the first time, I saw something underneath all the control, not just defensiveness, not just pride, something deeper. Something uncomfortable. Regret, maybe. But she wasn't ready to name it yet. I treated both girls the same, she insisted. Jake nodded quickly. Yeah. Mom's always been fair. I turned to him. Has she? He hesitated again, and that hesitation, it was becoming a pattern. Come on, Thea. No. I cut in. Answer me honestly. Has she treated them the same? Jake looked at Melissa. Melissa looked down. And just like that, the truth hung in the air, unspoken. But obvious. My mom saw it too. Her eyes flicked between them, and something in her expression shifted again. Not anger. Not denial. Something closer to panic. Because for the first time, she was losing control of the narrative. You're all ganging up on me, she said quietly. No. I replied. We're finally being honest. And that's when everything snapped. I didn't exclude her. My mom burst out. Her voice echoed through the kitchen. Louder than anything she'd said all night. I just... She stopped herself, breathing hard. You just what? I pressed. She shook her head, pacing now. I was closer to Jake and Melissa. That's all. They lived nearby. They needed more help. It was different. Different. That word again. Always the same justification. I crossed my arms. Different doesn't mean unequal. It wasn't intentional. But it was consistent. That hit hard, because intention didn't matter anymore. Impact did, and the impact was standing right there in crayon. A 6-year-old girl in the rain. My mom stopped pacing, looked at the drawing again. Really looked this time. At the house. At the smiling faces. At the empty space where Lily should have been. Her voice dropped. I thought you didn't want to be around. That caught me off guard. What? She swallowed. You always kept your distance. After you got married, you stopped asking for help. You didn't include me the way I expected. I stared at her. Mom, you never offered. Her brow furrowed. Yes, I did. No, I said firmly. You didn't. We stood there. Two completely different versions of the same history. Colliding. You made it clear you didn't approve of Marcus. I continued. So I stopped trying. I was trying to protect you. From what? Being happy. Silence, again. But this time, it wasn't defensive. It was uncertain. Like she was realizing something she hadn't let herself see before. Jake sat back down slowly. This is a lot, he muttered. Marcus nodded slightly. Yeah, it is, because this wasn't just about Lily anymore. This was deeper, older, years of unspoken tension finally surfacing. And suddenly, the drawing wasn't just about one little girl outside a house. It was about me too, about how long I'd been standing there, pretending I wasn't. My mom sank into a chair. For the first time all night, she looked tired. Not performative, not dramatic, just drained. I didn't realize it looked like this, she said quietly. I studied her, trying to figure out if this was another defense, another angle, but something felt different. Less controlled, more real. Well, I said softly, no you do. She nodded slowly, then looked at Lily, who was sitting quietly again. Watching, always watching. Come here, sweetheart, my mom said gently. Lily didn't move. That alone said everything. Lily, I encouraged softly. She hesitated, then walked over slowly. My mom reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. You know Grandma loves you, right? Lily nodded, but it wasn't convincing, it was polite, like she was saying what she was supposed to say, not what she felt. And my mom saw it. I watched it land, that subtle disconnect, that lack of belief. That was the moment, the real one, not the shouting, not the accusations, this. A 6-year-old nodding, without meaning it. My mom pulled her hand back slightly, her voice softer now. Did I make you feel left out? Lily shrugged. I don't know. That answer. It hit harder than anything else. Because kids don't say, I don't know, when they feel safe. They say it when they don't want to hurt someone, or when they've already given up expecting things to change. My chest tightened. Marcus looked away. Jake stared at the table. And my mom, she just sat there, processing, finally, slowly, uncomfortably. This isn't something we can fix tonight, my dad said quietly. He was right. This wasn't a quick apology situation. This was years. Patterns. Damage. I know, I said. I looked at my mom. But it has to change? She nodded. Barely. I need time, she said. And for the first time, I didn't argue. Because change like this doesn't happen in one dinner. But I also knew something else. Time alone wouldn't fix it. Action would. And if that didn't happen, then I was ready to do what I should have done years ago. Protect my daughter. Even if it meant stepping away from my own family. We gathered our things not long after. No hugs. No fake smiles. Just quiet tension. As we walked toward the door, Lily slipped her hand into mine again, but this time, her grip wasn't as tight. And that scared me more than anything. Because it meant something had shifted. Not in them. In her. And I didn't know yet if that shift was healing. Or her letting go completely. As we stepped outside, the air felt colder than it should have. Marcus opened the car door for Lily, then looked at me. You okay? I exhaled slowly. No. He nodded. Yeah, me neither. We got in the car, started driving, and for a while, no one spoke. Then, softly from the back seat, Mom. I glanced at her in the mirror. Yeah, baby? She hesitated. Then asked the question that broke me all over again. Are we still part of that family? My hands tightened on the steering wheel, and for the first time, I didn't have an easy answer. Because the truth was I didn't know anymore. But one thing was clear, whatever happened next was going to decide everything. Not just for me, but for her. And I wasn't going to get it wrong again, no. The word slipped out before I could soften it. Before I could wrap it in something gentler. Something easier for a 6-year-old to hear. Lily went quiet in the back seat. Marcus turned his head slowly toward me, not shocked, just aware. Because he knew exactly what that answer meant. Not just for her, for all of us. I swallowed, my throat tight. Not like that? I added quickly, trying to fix it, but even I could hear it. Too late. Too honest. Too real. What do you mean? Lily asked softly. I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Her eyes weren't teary. She wasn't upset. She was just trying to understand, and that made it worse. Because she wasn't reacting emotionally anymore. She was processing. Like this was normal. Like this was something she had to figure out. I took a breath. We're still a family, I said carefully. But some things have to change. Why? Because they made you feel invisible. Because I let it happen too long. Because love shouldn't feel like something you have to earn. But I couldn't say all that. So I said the only thing she could understand. Because families are supposed to make you feel like you belong. She nodded slowly. Then looked back out the window. Conversation over. Just like that. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't asking for reassurance. She was checking reality. And now she had her answer. When we got home, Marcus didn't go inside right away. He leaned against the car, arms crossed, staring at the darkening sky. You said it out loud, he said. I know. You okay with that? I thought about it. About everything that had just happened. About the dinner. The confrontation. The look on my mom's face. Lily's question. And my answer. No. I admitted. But I'm not gonna lie to her anymore either. Marcus nodded slowly. That's new. Yeah, I said quietly. It is. Inside, Lily went straight to her room. No TV, no snack request, just retreat. I watched her go, that familiar ache settling back in my chest. She's thinking. Marcus said behind me. I know. And that's not a bad thing. No. I whispered. But it's a heavy thing. Because kids shouldn't have to think this hard about love. They should just feel it. Effortlessly. Naturally. Without question. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open. The glow of the screen felt too bright in the quiet house. Marcus sat across from me, scrolling through his phone, but I could tell he wasn't really reading anything. What are you doing? He asked finally, something I should have done a long time ago. I started typing, slow at first. Then faster. Like once the words started coming, they didn't want to stop. Marcus leaned forward slightly. You writing to them? Yeah. He didn't ask me to stop. Didn't tell me to rethink it. Just sat there, letting me do what I needed to do. And for the first time, I wasn't writing to keep the peace. I was writing to set boundaries. Real ones, the kind that actually change things. Or end them. I stared at the screen for a moment, then read it out loud. Mom, Dad. I'm not writing this to argue. I'm writing this because I need to be clear. Tonight wasn't about a drawing. It was about years of Lily feeling like she doesn't belong in your home. I can't ignore that anymore. So here's what needs to change. Marcus sat up straighter. This was it. No going back now. First, Lily and our family need to be included in every family gathering. Not as an afterthought. Not as extra plates. Invited. Every time. Second, Lily needs to feel like she belongs in your home. That doesn't mean giving her a bedroom. It means showing her she matters. A photo. A space. Something that tells her she's part of this family too. Third, we need to have a real conversation about this. Not another dinner where we pretend everything's fine. A real one. With someone who can actually help us work through it. If these things don't happen, we'll be stepping back. Not to punish anyone, but to protect Lily. She deserves to feel like she belongs. And I won't let her grow up thinking she doesn't. Silence filled the room after I finished. Marcus exhaled slowly. That's clear. Too much. He shook his head. No. It's exactly enough. I hovered over the send button. My heart pounding harder than it should have, because this wasn't just a message. This was a line. And once I crossed it, everything would change. One way or another. Do it, Marcus said quietly. So I did. I hit send. And just like that, there was no going back. The response didn't come that night. Or the next morning. Or even the day after. And that silence, it was louder than anything they could have said. I checked my phone constantly. Refreshing. Waiting. Hoping. Dreading. All at the same time. By day 3, I started to wonder if I'd pushed too far. If I'd finally done it. Broken something that couldn't be fixed. But then, my phone buzzed. Dad. 3 simple words. We'll talk soon. That was it. No emotion. No explanation. Just something. And somehow that felt like progress. Until my phone rang again an hour later. Mom. I stared at the screen for a long second before answering. Hello? You sent that email? Her voice was tight. Controlled. But I could hear it underneath. anger, pride, all tangled together. Yes! You think we're bad grandparents now? That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said. I closed my eyes. No, Mom, I said. Lily feels left out. And that needs to change. She exhaled sharply. You always do this? Do what? Turn everything into a problem. Make everything bigger than it is. There it was again. The label. The narrative. The version of me she was comfortable with. Difficult. Overreacting. Too much. But this time, I didn't accept it. No, I said calmly. I'm finally saying something instead of ignoring it. You're tearing this family apart. That one hit deep, because for a second, I almost believed it, almost apologized. But then, I saw Lily's drawing in my mind, the rain, the distance, the truth, and I steadied myself. No, I said again. I'm trying to fix what's already broken. Silence. Heavy, uncomfortable. Then, I need time, she said finally. Okay. But I'm not promising anything. I'm not asking for promises, I'm asking for effort. Another pause. Then, she hung up. Just like that, no goodbye, no resolution, just unfinished. I set my phone down slowly. Marcus watched me. Well? I exhaled. She didn't say no. He nodded. Then that's something. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. But one thing was clear. We weren't pretending anymore. We weren't avoiding it. We weren't playing along with the illusion. And whether my family liked it or not, things were going to change. Because I had finally chosen something different. Not comfort. Not silence. Not peace at any cost. I chose my daughter, and whatever happened next, I was ready for it. Even if it meant losing everything I used to call family. Because some things aren't worth keeping. Not if they come at the cost of your child standing alone in the rain. Your mom hasn't called me in a week. Jake's voice sounded different. Quieter. Thinner. Like something had been pulled out of it. I leaned back against the kitchen counter, phone pressed to my ear, trying to process what he'd just said. What do you mean? I asked. I mean, she hasn't called. No texts, nothing. That didn't make sense. My mom called Jake every day, to talk about Sophie, dinner plans, random gossip, even what she saw on Facebook. She didn't just. Did you call her? I asked. Yeah. 3 times. And, she answers. But it's weird. Weird how? He exhaled slowly. Short answers. No conversation. Like she's talking to a stranger. I closed my eyes. And suddenly, I understood. This was new territory for him. For the first time in his life, he wasn't the center. He wasn't the easy one. He wasn't the chosen one. He was outside. Just a little. But enough to feel it. Jake, I said carefully, this is what it's been like for me. Silence. Long. Heavy. Then, yeah, he whispered. I think I'm starting to get that. I didn't respond right away. Because part of me wanted to say finally, part of me wanted him to sit in it. To really feel it. Not out of revenge, but because understanding requires experience. I thought you just pulled away, he continued. That's what she told you, I said. Yeah. And you believed her. Another pause. I didn't question it. I know. His voice cracked slightly. 2 weeks, Thea. That's all it took. 2 weeks of this, and it's messing with my head. I let that sink in. Then said the thing he needed to hear. Now imagine 6 years. Silence again, but this time, it wasn't defensive. It was humbled. I'm sorry, he said. And for the first time, it didn't sound automatic. It didn't sound like something he was supposed to say. It sounded real. I know you are. I replied softly. Because I could hear it. The shift. The awareness. And once someone sees it, they can't unsee it. I keep thinking about that drawing, he said, the one with Lily outside. Yeah. I was in that house? He added quietly. Yes. And I didn't even notice she wasn't. That hit harder than anything else he'd said. Because it was true. That's how systems like this work. The people inside, they don't look for who's missing. They just enjoy being included. I should have called you, he said. I should have asked where you were, invited you. Something. Yeah, I said honestly. You should have. No sugarcoating. No pretending. Just truth. I'm not doing that anymore, he added. I know. And, I talked to Melissa. That caught my attention. Oh, she didn't see it either. Not really. But when I showed her the drawing, it messed her up. How? She cried. That surprised me. Why? Because she realized she was comfortable in something that wasn't fair. I nodded slowly, even though he couldn't see me. That made sense. It's easy to ignore a problem when it benefits you, I said. Yeah, he replied. Not so easy once you see it. We sat in silence for a moment. Then, what happens now? He asked. That was the question. The big one. The one I didn't have a clean answer for. I don't know. I admitted. That depends on Mom. And if she doesn't change. I looked toward the living room where Lily was drawing again. Always drawing. Always processing. Then we do, I said quietly. Jake didn't respond right away. But when he did, his voice was steadier. Okay. That one word carried more weight than anything else. Because it meant he wasn't looking for an easy out. He wasn't asking me to back down, he was choosing a side, not against Mom, but for what was right, and that mattered. More than I expected. A few days later, Dad showed up at my door. No call, no warning. Just there. Standing on my porch like he wasn't sure if he belonged there. Which was ironic. Because that's exactly how I'd felt at his house for years. I opened the door slowly. Hey, kid. His voice was softer than usual. Less certain. Can I come in? Yeah. He stepped inside, glancing around like he hadn't been here before. Even though he had, just not often. Nice place, he said. Thanks. Awkward. Unfamiliar, like we were rebuilding something from scratch. He sat at the kitchen table. I sat across from him. And for a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he pulled something out of his jacket pocket. Folded paper. He placed it gently on the table. I've been carrying this around, he said. I unfolded it, and felt my chest tighten. It was Lily's drawing. A copy. He must have taken a picture and printed it. I keep looking at it, he continued, trying to understand how I didn't see it before. I swallowed. You were inside? I said quietly. He nodded. Yeah. A long pause. I failed you, he said. That hit me off guard. Dad. No. He interrupted gently. Let me say it. I stayed quiet. Because I could hear it. This wasn't casual. This wasn't surface level. This was something deeper. I saw the difference, he admitted. I just didn't call it what it was. My chest tightened. I didn't want conflict, he added. Didn't want to upset your mother, so I stayed quiet. That sounded familiar. Too familiar. I did the same thing, I said softly. He looked at me. But you're not anymore. Neither are you. That hung between us. Unspoken, but understood. I want to fix this, he said. And for the first time, I believed him. Not because of what he said, but because he showed up. That's going to take more than words. I told him. I know. Another pause. Then, I cleared out the study, he said. I blinked. What? For Lily. I frowned slightly. What do you mean? He gave a small, almost nervous smile. Come over Sunday. I'll show you. My first instinct, say no, protect Lily. Avoid disappointment. But something in his tone made me hesitate. I'll think about it, I said. He nodded. Fair enough. He stood up, headed for the door. Then stopped. I'm proud of you, he said. I looked at him, surprised. For what? For not staying quiet. That hit, because for years, silence had been my role. My coping mechanism, my survival strategy. And now, I had broken it. And everything was shifting because of it. After he left, I stood in the doorway for a long time, thinking, processing, wondering if change was actually possible, or if this was just a temporary reaction, a moment, a phase, because real change, that takes time, consistency, effort, and most importantly, willingness. That night, Marcus found me staring at the drawing on the fridge again. You thinking about Sunday? He asked. Yeah. You trust it? I hesitated, then shook my head slightly. Not yet. Good, he said. I looked at him. Good, yeah. Trust should come after change, not before. I nodded slowly. That made sense. Because we'd trusted before. And look where that got us. But this time, it was different. This time, we weren't hoping things would change. We were watching to see if they did. And Sunday was going to tell us everything. Because for the first time in years, We weren't walking into that house as silent guests. We were walking in with expectations. And if those expectations weren't met, then I was finally ready to do the one thing I should have done a long time ago. Walk away. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but out of love. For the little girl who refused to stand in the rain anymore. And for myself. Because I finally realized something. I had been standing there too. For a lot longer than I ever admitted. I don't want to go. Lily said it before I even picked up my keys. No hesitation. No attitude. Just a quiet refusal. And somehow that hit harder than all the drawings combined. Because this wasn't confusion anymore. It wasn't sadness. It was a decision. She had already made up her mind about that house. And kids don't do that unless something inside them has already settled. I crouched down in front of her. Baby? I said gently. Grandpa said he has something to show you. She looked at me, not excited, not curious, just cautious. Like what? I don't know, I admitted. But we don't have to stay long. We can just go look and leave if you want. She studied my face for a second, like she was trying to figure out if I was being honest. Then she nodded slowly. Okay? But not long? Not long? I promised. Marcus grabbed his jacket. I'm coming. That wasn't even a question anymore. We didn't do this alone. Not anymore. The drive felt different this time. Less tense. More uncertain. Like we weren't walking into something familiar. We were walking into something untested. Unproven. And that made it more dangerous. Because hope can hurt more than disappointment if it turns out to be false. When we pulled into the driveway, I noticed something immediately. 2 cars. Not one. Jake and Melissa were already there. I exchanged a glance with Marcus. Okay, he muttered. Didn't expect that. Me neither. Lily's hand found mine again as we walked up to the door. Her grip wasn't panicked. But it wasn't relaxed either. Just ready. The door opened before I knocked. Dad. Like he'd been waiting. Hey, sweetheart, he said softly, looking straight at Lily. Not at me. Not past her. At her. That was new. Hi, she replied, barely above a whisper. He smiled gently. I've got something to show you. He stepped aside. We walked in, and right away, I felt it. Something had changed, not everything, but something. The table wasn't set yet. No, 5 plates, already laid out, no last-minute rearranging. Just normal, neutral, like we were expected. Jake stood in the living room, hands in his pockets. Melissa beside him. They both looked different, less comfortable. More aware. Hey, Jake said quietly. Hey, no tension, no fake cheerfulness, just honesty, which somehow felt better than anything else. Where's Mom? I asked. Dad hesitated. In the kitchen. That pause told me everything. She wasn't ready, not fully, but she was here, and that mattered. Come on, Dad said gently to Lily. He held out his hand. She hesitated, looked at me. I nodded. It's okay. She placed her hand in his and let him lead her upstairs. I followed. Marcus right behind me. Each step felt heavier than it should. Like we were walking toward something important. Something that could either fix everything or confirm that nothing had really changed at all. Dad stopped in front of the study. The door was open. Go ahead, he said softly. Lily stepped inside first, and then she froze. Completely still. I stepped in behind her, and my breath caught. The room was different. Not completely. The leather chair was still there. The old fishing magazines stacked in the corner, but by the window, there was something new. A small space, clearly made, carefully arranged. A little bookshelf, coloring books stacked neatly, a box of crayons, a small desk, kid-sized, and on the wall above it, a wooden nameplate, hand-painted, slightly uneven, gold letters, Lily's Corner. My throat tightened instantly. I looked at Dad. His hands were trembling slightly. I made it, he said. Not proud, not performative, just honest. I didn't know what else to do. Lily walked forward slowly. Like she was afraid it might disappear if she moved too fast. She reached up, touched the letters, traced them with her finger. Lily, her name. In that house. For the first time. Is this mine? She asked softly. Dad nodded. Yeah, sweetheart, it's yours. She looked back at me, and I saw it. That expression. The one I hadn't seen in weeks. Not happiness. Not excitement. Something deeper. recognition, like she finally saw herself somewhere she didn't expect to. And then, she sat down, picked up a crayon, and started drawing. Just like that. No questions. No hesitation, like she was claiming it. Making it real. I covered my mouth, trying not to cry. Marcus stepped closer, his hand resting lightly on my back. We both knew what this meant. Not everything was fixed, not even close. But this was effort. Real effort. From someone who hadn't shown it before. Dad stayed in the doorway, watching, quiet, letting the moment belong to her. And then, I noticed something else. Behind him, in the hallway, my mom. She wasn't inside the room. She wasn't speaking. She was just standing there, watching, like she didn't know how to step in, or if she even should. Our eyes met for a second, and this time, there was no anger, no defensiveness. Just something uncertain, something fragile, like she was seeing it too, really seeing it. For the first time, I didn't say anything. Neither did she. Because some moments don't need words, they just need to be felt. After a few minutes, Lily looked up. "Can I leave my drawings here?" she asked. Dad smiled. "Of course you can." She nodded, went back to coloring, like it was the most natural thing in the world. And maybe one day, it would be. Downstairs, dinner was quieter than usual. No forced conversations, no loud laughter, just careful, intentional. My mom tried, I saw it. She asked Lily questions, listened to her answers, actually listened. But it wasn't smooth. It wasn't natural yet. It felt like someone learning a language they should have known years ago. And Lily, she responded, but cautiously, like she was testing it, seeing if it would last. And honestly, I didn't blame her. Because trust isn't built in one afternoon. It's built over time. Through consistency. Through proof. And we weren't there yet, not even close. But for the first time, we were moving in that direction. After dinner, as we were getting ready to leave, my mom finally spoke to me. "Can we talk?" Her voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it. I hesitated, then nodded. We stepped into the kitchen, away from everyone else. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Then she sighed. "I don't know how to fix this overnight. I'm not asking you to." She looked at me. Really looked. "I didn't think it was this bad." "I know." That wasn't an accusation. Just truth. She swallowed. "I thought you pulled away. I thought you pushed me." We both let that sit. Two sides. Same story. Different perspectives. "I'm trying," she said finally. "I see that." And I did. Not perfectly. Not completely. But enough to notice. "Is it enough?" she asked. That question. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't challenging. It was genuine. And that made it harder to answer. "No," I said honestly. Her face fell slightly, "but it's a start." She nodded slowly. "Okay." We stood there for a second longer. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I don't want her to feel like that again." Neither did I. But wanting it wasn't the same as fixing it. "We'll see," I said quietly. Not harsh. Not cold. Just real. Because hope had to be earned now. Not assumed. As we walked out to the car, Lily looked back at the house. Not the way she used to. Not with excitement. Not with dread. Just thinking. Processing. Marcus opened her door. She climbed in. Then looked at me. "Can we come back?" That question stopped me. Because a week ago, she didn't want to go at all. And now, she was asking to return. I glanced at Marcus. Then back at her. "Maybe," I said softly. And for the first time in a long time, maybe didn't feel like avoidance. It felt like possibility. But deep down, I knew something. This wasn't the end, not even close. Because one corner in a room doesn't undo years of feeling invisible. And one dinner doesn't rebuild trust. The real test wasn't today. It was everything that came after. Because change isn't proven in moments. It's proven in patterns. And we were just getting started. 3 weeks later, the corner was still there. That's how I knew this was real. Not because of what they said that Sunday. Not because of the awkward effort at dinner, but because of what didn't disappear once the moment passed. Consistency. That's what I was watching for. And for the first time in 6 years, it was showing up. Lily's drawings had started to pile up on that little desk. Each visit, she added another one. Bright colors. Messy lines. But different now. No more rain. No more separation. No more black lines splitting the world in two. And the fridge. That was the second thing. The real test. The one I didn't mention out loud. The one I waited to see if they'd figure out on their own. The first time I noticed it, I didn't say anything. I just stood there. Staring, right in the center of the fridge, between Sophie's school photo and some random grocery list, was Lily's drawing. The one with the three of us. Smiling, inside our own house. Not tucked in a corner, not half-covered, centered, visible, intentional. I felt Marcus step beside me. He saw it too. Okay, he whispered. Yeah, I breathed. Okay, not perfect, not fixed, but okay. And sometimes, okay is a miracle when you've been living in, not enough, for years. But the real moment, the one that decided everything, didn't happen in the study, or at the fridge, or even at dinner. It happened on a random Wednesday afternoon. No build-up, no warning, just truth. I was folding laundry when my phone rang. Mom, I almost didn't answer. Old habits, old expectations. But I did. Hi? She said softly. Not tight, not defensive. Just normal. I was wondering, is Lily free this weekend? I paused. That question. It had never come before. Not like that. What for? I asked carefully. Well, she hesitated. There's a little art fair downtown. Kids can display their drawings. I thought maybe she'd like to be part of it. I blinked. Processing. You thought of that? Yeah. Not defensive. Not proud. Just simple. Like it wasn't a big deal. But it was, it really was. I'd go with her, of course, she added quickly. If that's okay with you. There it was, the difference. Before, she would have just assumed. Or worse, not invited her at all. Now, she was asking, including, considering. Yes, I said slowly. I think she'd like that. A small pause. Then, okay. I'll call her later and ask her myself. And just like that, another shift. Direct connection. Not through me. Not filtered. Just her and Lily. After the call I sat there for a long time, laundry forgotten. Mind racing. Because this was new. Not perfect. Not guaranteed. But new. And sometimes, that's how real change starts. Not with grand apologies, but with small, consistent choices. Later that night, Lily came running into the kitchen. Grandma called me. Her face, it was different. Not cautious. Not unsure. Excited. Yeah. I smiled. What did she say? She asked if I want to show my drawings at a fair. I nodded. And what did you say? I said yes. Of course she did, because despite everything, kids are still open. Still willing, still hopeful. More than we deserve sometimes. And that's why this mattered so much. Because I hadn't just been protecting her from pain. I'd been protecting her ability to believe. That things could be better. That people could change. That she belonged. Saturday came fast. We met them downtown. Small booths, colorful tents, kids everywhere. And there, right in the middle of it, was Lily, standing next to her drawings, beaming, my mom beside her. Not taking over, not controlling, just there, present, supportive, listening. At one point, I watched as Lily explained one of her drawings to a stranger. This one is my family, she said proudly. I held my breath, because I needed to know, needed to see, who she included. The woman smiled. Who's everyone in it? Lily pointed. That's me. That's my mom and dad. Then she paused. Just for a second, and added. And that's my grandma and grandpa. I felt something in my chest loosen. Not fully. Not completely. But enough, because this time, she wasn't outside. She wasn't separate. She wasn't erased. She was inside the picture. With them. And that meant something, more than anything else. On the drive home, Lily fell asleep in the backseat, her head tilted to the side, a faint smile still on her face. Marcus reached over, lacing his fingers with mine. You did good, he said quietly. I shook my head slightly. No, I whispered. We did. Because this wasn't just me anymore. This was all of us. Choosing something different. Choosing to break a pattern. Choosing to rebuild something that should have never been broken in the first place. Later that night, after we tucked Lily into bed, I stood in the doorway for a moment. Watching her, thinking about everything, the drawings, the confrontation, the silence, the effort, the change. And I realized something I hadn't fully understood before. This wasn't about fixing my parents. It was about changing what my daughter learned about love. Because love isn't just what you say. It's what you show. It's who you include. It's whether someone feels like they belong, without having to fight for it. I walked into the kitchen, grabbed the first drawing from the drawer. The one with the rain, the one that started everything. I stared at it for a long moment. Then, I folded it carefully, not to hide it, not to forget it, but to remember. Because that drawing, that moment, it changed everything. It forced the truth into the light. It made me speak up. It made all of us see what we'd been ignoring, and most importantly, it made my daughter stop standing in the rain. I placed it in a small box, closed the lid, and exhaled, because the truth is, not every family gets a second chance. Not every story ends like this. Some people never change. Some patterns never break. But sometimes, when someone finally refuses to stay quiet, when someone chooses discomfort over denial, when someone stands up and says this isn't okay, things shift, slowly, messily, imperfectly. But they do, and in the end that's what matters. Not perfection, not pretending, just progress. Because no child should ever have to draw themselves outside the people who are supposed to love them. And no parent should ever ignore it when they do. That's the line, the real one, not drawn in crayon, but in courage. And once you see it, you don't step back, you step forward. No matter what it costs.